What's up, guys? It's Red from Workstat BMW Only. Today we're going to show you guys how to do or replace the high pressure fuel pump on the N54 engine. The N54 goes in the 335, 535, and some of the X5s. It also goes with N55 engines. So this one, it's actually driven by the chain by the brake vacuum pump. So if your brake vacuum pump fails, you'll have to remove this guy regardless. So the lifespan of this should be around 100,000 miles, up to like 10 years maybe. So the reason why they fail is because of the age, and there's like a relief valve inside. There's two types of this one. There's the first generation, and then the second generation, it has a diaphragm, and that would fail and it could actually leak fuel into your engine. So if you guys replace this, I would do an oil change just to be safe, because there is a chance that your oil is already contaminated with fuel. So the symptoms of the failure would be long crank in the morning, and your car will go to limp mode, or it will give you drivetrain malfunction or engine malfunction, half power is only available, stuff like that. You're not gonna smell any fuel smell if this guy was gonna fail. The ideal percentage for the idle is 50 bar for this engine, but if you start up the car, and if you see right here, I'm getting 5 bar for the high pressure side and also on the low pressure side. So the target value is supposed to be 50 bar on idle, and it should go up to like 150 to 200 depending on your accelerator pedal. So I recommend doing this with the safety goggles. I also recommend disconnecting the battery, and if you don't disconnect the battery, try not to open the door, because if you open the door while the battery is connected, the fuel pump is going to start purging fuel, and if you're not wearing safety goggles, it might go to your face. So I won't be responsible for any accidents, stuff like that. The special tools that you need, I would say a long ball 5mm. I don't know, I'm not sure if it's 6mm or 5mm, but I recommend having both just in case, for if you want to fix something else, you guys might need the 6mm. Not on this particular job. And open head 17mm, 10mm, basic mechanic tools. So I already disconnected the battery. I removed the cowl cover. It's 8mm all around. I disconnected the harness from above, and there's going to be 5mm that covers the engine. I highly recommend removing that. And I removed the air duct that goes in here. It's T20 right here, and left and right. So we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the vacuum hose. I didn't start up the car this morning, so there's no suction. We're gonna go ahead and remove this guy. So now the next step would be to disconnect the charge pipe. There's a clamp right here. I would just lift it up. Better to remove the entire clip. Put it somewhere safe. Now we're gonna remove the T30 right here. Just be careful, you have a positive cable. But anyway, we disconnected the battery, so we should be fine. And disconnect the charge pipe completely. It's a 7mm right here. And then disconnect some of the hoses and the vacuum lines. So we'll go ahead and do that. So now I believe it's a 7. Just loosen the clamp, and then right here we're gonna disconnect this sensor. It's manifold absolute pressure sensor, also known as MAP sensor, MAP, whatever you guys want to call it. This engine does not have a mass airflow sensor. It's different, just like S65. So we're gonna disconnect, I believe, this guy, and then just this guy. So if you guys want to ask me how to disconnect this guy, you just turn it counterclockwise and then pull. On the other side, it's slightly different, so you kind of turn it clockwise. It's really confusing, but make sure you guys lock it afterwards, because you might get a system too lean or air mass too high if you don't close this later on. Do I have a script? No, I do not. Some people, they don't remove the charge pipe all the way. I'll just put a bungee cord. So now we're gonna disconnect just the throttle body. You can do this job with just removing the throttle body. It's a 10 millimeter, there's 4 of them. Ooh, nearly dropped it. Another symptom for failure is hesitation around low RPM. I would say 2,000 RPM to 3,000. Now we gotta disconnect this connector for the high pressure fuel pump. I would just use like a pry tool. I lost too many of them already. So how this connector works, you squeeze this tab, 1, 2, and then find a place to pry it. So this is just like an example. I'm squeezing the 2 tabs and then pry. And next up, you need to disconnect the low pressure sensor. And then you just lift it up. Okay. This is a game. Maybe I'll just disconnect it from here. We're gonna use a 17 millimeter to loosen it up. So this is the time when you need the safety goggles. Here's a 17 millimeter counterclockwise, and it's gonna spray a little bit of fuel. Make sure you guys are wearing goggles, gloves, and use I would recommend using the type of gloves that can handle fuel actually. So I would loosen this up until you can spin it by hand, and then the other one is up top. You see right there. I don't think this one has ever been replaced before, because everything is just really tight. Oh, by the way, and if you guys are working on this job in your own garage, you guys can actually do it. You don't need a lift or anything. Let everyone know in the household to not open the door, because if they do, it's gonna spray fuel. If they need something to get in the car, just leave the windows open or get your valuables already out of the car. So now the high pressure fuel pump right now is currently trapped because of the hard line. So I believe it's an E12, so we're gonna loosen up this bolt that goes to the engine block, and just don't forget to put it back on there. Right now I have my gun, and I'm not holding it like a regular gun. I'm pressing the tab with my pinky. So now we got the hard line disconnected. The reason why you want to disconnect it is because you want to have room to push the high pressure fuel pump towards the back of the engine. So now we have enough room to do that. So it's gonna be a 5 millimeter here, a 5 millimeter right there. So the green ones, 1, 2, and then there's another one. So if you guys don't really know where it is, just look at the new part, and then just use your imagination. I'll show you guys the new part. So this one goes towards the block, the front of the engine, and you guys need to pay attention at the position of this this piece of metal. It's like a spindle, and it comes with an O-ring. So I don't really recommend replacing whatever gaskets are inside. You gotta buy a new one. So it's positioned like this. So 5mm here, and then 5mm here, and then 5mm here. This is why you use a long ball. Sometimes you need to get it at an angle, and the long ball should catch the head of the bolt. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna start with, I wanna start with the hardest one. I'm gonna try to loosen up. Okay. I'm catching the head of the bolt already. Okay, we got it loose. I'll just spin this guy by hand later. I got it loose, so now I don't know if it's really visible. It's this guy, 5mm, and then another 5mm underneath this guy. So this is why you need the long ball, is so that way you can catch the head of it. If it's just a straight 5mm, you're gonna strip this guy. So now, what I normally do is maybe get a thumb ratchet to spin it counterclockwise. So what I do is I just spin it by hand, remove the screws, and then clean your work area, especially where the O-ring is going to sit on. So just put this somewhere safe. So yeah, it's a 5mm. I thought it was a 6 for some reason. And the torque specification, I'm gonna look it up right now. It shouldn't be super duper tight. No tread locks required. Okay. And then I'm gonna have to play with the last one. Okay, so I have the last screw completely loose. So now I have my tool positioned like this. So now I can just pull it out. So yeah, it's about to come out. You guys just need to play with it a little bit. We might need to disconnect this guy to loosen it up. There's no more fuel pressure. I'm not wearing any goggles, so we should be fine. I don't think anyone has ever removed this line before. It's supposed to spin by hand. So now, I don't know if you guys can see, but you need to pay attention the way it's being positioned right now. So I removed it, and it lines up to the one at the very back. And if you guys want to put back the new one, remove this screw, put this in the new one. Just leave it like this, and then put it on, and then pay attention to the spline. It's chain driven by the timing, so when the car runs, it pumps together with the timing of the car. So now I would recommend cleaning the contact surface right here on the engine block. Don't use the air gun right now because the engine is exposed, so whatever dust is sitting on top of the engine block, it's gonna go inside the engine, and you don't want that. So the torque specification is 9 Newton meters. It's an M6 bolt. So M6 meaning it's 6mm diameter. And for the 17, you just need to hand tighten it. For torque specification on the E12, it says 10 Newton meters and then 90 degrees and then 15 degrees. So now we got the new pump back in. So it's going to be a reverse order. So once you got the new pump in, connect the harness stuff, connect the throttle body, connect the purge valve if you guys disconnected it, and put back the charge pipe, the air filter, put back the battery, turn the ignition on. That's good enough to prime to send fuel to the engine. And check for fuel leaks, very important, because you're messing around with fuel. You don't want to get caught on fire. I mean, it's your car, it's not mine. So after that, clear the fault code, and the car should start up like a little bit delayed the first time because there's no fuel in there. So after that, turn it off, crank it one more time. It should start up right away, and your fuel pressure for the high pressure fuel pump should jump up to like 150, 120 for a good 30 seconds. That's how it is, that's normal. And once it settles on the idle, it should stay at 50 bar. It might even go 48, 47. But if you're getting 5 bar on a high pressure fuel pump, something's going on. But we don't have that anymore. So now we gotta put back the engine cover, the cowl cover, go for a test drive, make sure there's no hesitation. And yep, so that's about it. Don't forget to hit the like button. Comment if you guys want us to do another one where we can do the updated version, which is the diaphragm type. I don't know what it's exactly called, but there's 2 versions. This is the first generation, and there's a second generation for the N55. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. See you.